While still waiting the final status of Kosovo, the assessments from prominent and experienced specialists and experts of this region are vital to understand the ongoing situation and what will happen after the determination of the status. His Excellency Ambassador Waheed Waheedullah, head of United Nations Liaison Office in Albania, gives an enlightening insight of the situation in an interview given for Alsat television. Ambassador Waheedullah has a very rich and extensive experience of work and contribution in this part of the world, and he has been very dynamically involved with the United Nations and the rest of the international community in their relevant peacekeeping and peace-building operations in many parts of Southeast Europe, including Kosovo.
Ambassador Waheed Waheedullah, thank you for accepting our invitation. And if I may start my question about your work and experience in this region in general and in Kosovo in particular.
Thank you so much. I must say that this is almost a decade that I work in this region. My first mission started in Bosnia almost a decade ago, 10 years ago, where I went there as part of the United Nations peacekeeping operation, like from the very beginning, the eruption of the conflict there, and stayed there all the way up to the end of 1977. That experience apart, I then came back to this region in 1999 from the very beginning of the mission and after the very sad conflict that took place here and the NATO intervention that was authorized by the United Nations to drive out the 40,000 Yugoslav forces here from Kosovo. And since then I have been working in this region.
Could you share with us some of the impressions you had upon your arrival in Kosovo, and what were some of the major issues that the United Nations mission had to primarily address at that time?
Well, as I indicated earlier, on June the 10th of 1999, the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1244 authorizing the United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo, as we call it, UNMIC, to begin the very long process of building peace, democracy, stability and self-governance in this shattered part of southeastern Europe. When I arrived in Kosovo, it was an extremely difficult situation, I must say, there. All fabrics of social and economic life were destroyed following a devastating war and the legitimate military intervention of NATO there. Kosovo was basically suffering under a severe emergency phase. There existed no functional legislative, executive or judiciary bodies throughout Kosovo, no municipal administrations, and no elementary or basic services that normal municipal bodies would provide, such as water, electricity, health and sanitation, shelter, schooling, no security, no law and no order, no freedom of movement, no telecommunication, no employment, no production, no economy basically, no banking. Basically all sectors of life were dead and destroyed. We had to start everything from scratch. As the mission commenced right after the conflict, UNMIC's specific tasks and responsibilities were to perform basic civilian administrative functions and public services at the central and local levels, to coordinate the humanitarian and disaster relief operations of all international agencies, basically to support the restoration of utilities and the reconstruction of key infrastructure. Maintain perhaps civil law and order was also one of the biggest things that we had to do. Promote human rights, ensure the safe and unimpeded return of all refugees and displaced persons to their homes in Kosovo, and to promote and establish the self-government throughout Kosovo, and most importantly, to facilitate a political process to determine the Kosovo's future status. So In order to obtain early results on these tasks, we within the United Nations Interim Administration in Kosovo, or ANMIC, set up UN regional structures with 5 UN regional administrators and about 30 UN municipal administrators in Kosovo, which were all run at that time by the international. We also established UN central departments to administer the delivery of public services such as health and education, banking and finance, post and telecommunication, sanitation, all in all. From there to gather even garbage collection was our job, which were then subsequently converted into Kosovo-wide administrative departments under the joint administrative structures. We called it at that time GIAS system. Among them, we also established one key department, which is what we called the Central Fiscal Authority for Kosovo, which had to deal with the preparation of the Kosovo consolidated budget. Furthermore, the internationally recruited United Nations multinational police force, which is what we call the ANMIC police, later in conjunction with the newly founded Kosovo Police Service, the KPS, which is what we call, sought to maintain law and order throughout Kosovo. Kosovo Protection Corps, which is what we named KPC, was also created to provide emergency response and reconstruction services, thereby absorbing the energies and some of the manpower of the former Kosovo Liberation Army, the KLA, which had meanwhile been disarmed and demilitarized under the supervision of the KFOR, the military international presence there.
Mr. Ambassador, you skipped the last part of my question. I appreciate your modesty, but what about your personal contribution in the accomplishment of the tasks that you just highlighted to our listeners and viewers under the emergency phase?
Oh, you are very kind. As to my personal contribution, as I am the designer of peace processes and their relevant implementation mechanisms, which is something that I did for Bosnia-Herzegovina, both for the establishment of Bosnia-Croat Federation and the Srpska Republic as part of Washington and Dayton agreements, respectively. Also, I did the United Nations facilitated peace process, and I designed that for Afghanistan, a process which is being currently implemented in that country and facilitated by the United Nations. Likewise, I designed and developed the following concepts: confidence building structures and the implementation mechanisms for Kosovo during the initial and emergency phase there, including, like I developed the concept of regional crisis management center, the concept of building a comprehensive database for producing municipal profiles or pictures of the municipalities to basically determine the accurate needs of each of those municipalities throughout Kosovo, the designing and implementation mechanism of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1244 at the regional and municipal levels, including the joint administrative, executive, legislative and judiciary structures for Kosovo, was also something that I designed, the development and the designing of terms of reference, if you like, and the kind of job for ANMIC international regional and municipal administrators that they were serving with the United Nations mission in Kosovo throughout that Kosovo that I've spoken about. Then the establishment of mechanism of a smooth transition of policing duties and responsibilities from KFOR, French Gendarmerie, and the Italian Carabinieri to the newly formed ANMIC International Police Forces.